Welcome everyone. In this talk I'll be introducing a recently published paper where we identified new pyroclastic density current deposits at Mt Ruapehu in New Zealand. Mt Ruapehu is a highly visited volcano, with tourists frequenting it all year round. As Ruapehu is active, there are hazard mitigation measures for a range of volcanic hazards. The PDC hazard, however, is often overlooked, and there has been little research done into PDC occurrence at Mt Ruapehu. The aim of this paper is to therefore identify and characterise PDCs from the stratigraphic record, and to highlight their occurrence on Ruapehu. With this research we hope to bring attention to the potential PDC hazard at Mt Ruapehu and to provide an introduction for further research to be done into this hazard. For this talk, I'll first give some brief context into Mt Ruapehu. I'll then describe previous research that has been done into PDCs on Ruapehu, and finally I will discuss the important methods, results and conclusions from the paper. Mt Ruapehu is located on the North Island of New Zealand and at the southern end of the Taupō Volcanic Zone, or TVZ. It is an andesite-dacite stratovolcano, and during its 250,000-year eruptive history it has had ranging eruption styles, including Strombolian, Plinian, Subplinian, Phreatomagmatic, Volcanian and dome building. It has had 3 eruptive craters, and the current one is filled with a crater lake. Little evidence has previously been found of PDCs in historic eruptions and in the stratigraphic record. As such, there has been little research done into PDCs on Mt Ruapehu. Reasons for this poor preservation may be due to burial by subsequent eruptions, or deposition on and reworking by glacial activity. An image from the 1945 eruption shows a small PDC travelling down the southeastern flank, proving that PDCs have occurred at Ruapehu. Previous researchers have briefly mentioned the occurrence of PDCs in their papers, however few have investigated the PDCs in detail, their morphology, or confirmed whether the deposits were indeed PDCs. Hackett interpreted 2 small heterolithic tuff breccias deposits on the eastern and southeastern sides of Ruapehu as PDCs. They, however, did not investigate these deposits in detail. In their study, Donahue described magma mingling in a single PDC deposit located on the ring plane of the volcano. In their papers investigating large subplinian and plinian eruptions in Ruapehu's eruptive history, Pardo 2012 and 2014 identified and described PDC deposits in the tephra record. Cowlin 2016 was the first study to investigate in detail the occurrence of multiple PDCs on Mt Ruapehu. This map has been created using results from Cowlin to show the locations where he found PDC deposits on the eastern side of the mountain. In this small area he identified 12 in the record as deposits from subplinian, Plinian, Volcanian and Strombolian eruptions. He correlated some of the PDCs that he found with those described by Pardo. While Cowlin has studied PDCs in detail at Kino ski field, the rest of the mountain has been overlooked. This is where this research aims to create a broader image of the PDC occurrence and deposit locations at Mt Ruapehu. The main part of this research consisted of 3 months of fieldwork over summer. Fieldwork was directed by previous visits from scientists from GNS, the Department of Conservation, previous studies such as Cowlin's, and visual observation from satellite images and while in the field. The large map on the left shows areas that were covered during the fieldwork, and the two images on the right show examples of PDC deposits seen from a distance. Many of the deposits stood out from the surrounding volcanic landscape by colour or erosional differences. Deposits were described in the field, and identification of these deposits is based on PDC descriptions and characteristics from literature and from PDC identification frameworks developed by Cowlin. XRF Geochemistry was one of the methods that were used to characterise the samples that we took from each deposit. Whole rock major and trace element geochemistry was conducted on each sample, and in addition to characterising the deposits, geochemistry was also done to help correlate the deposits with dated units from Ruapehu's eruptive history. Overall, 12 PDC deposits were found around the mountain. Most of the deposits are small and poorly preserved, making identification difficult. The distribution of these identified deposits show that PDCs have been deposited all around the mountain. Two of the deposits identified in the study show similar characteristics to two of the PDC units identified by Cowlin, and as such have been interpreted as extensions of previously identified deposits. The red hashed areas on the map show regions which were unable to be accessed in the study due to accessibility issues. Here are 6 outcrop images and stratigraphic logs from 6 of the PDC deposits identified in the study. As you can see, all vary significantly in looks and sizes. Most of the deposits were small and all are poorly preserved, which makes it difficult to observe any changes in textures across the deposits. The deposits were identified as PDCs based on various textural characteristics that are known to occur in these types of deposits, for example pore sorting, grading, class rounding, and lack of internal structures. Some deposits are well indurated, while others are poorly consolidated. The PDC deposits are primarily contained vesicular clasts with a small amount of denser lithics. In some deposits, however, there is a significant proportion of dense juvenile clasts in addition to vesicular. In the field, the units above and or below the PDC deposits were noted and described so we could correlate them with mapped and dated units and formations. And here are the remaining 6 deposits. As you can see, these also vary significantly in looks and sizes. We determined the geochemistry of the PDC deposits to help characterise them and in the hopes of correlating the formations they were from to help determine age ranges in which they may have occurred. Here is an example of one of the trace elements compared with formations and units of Ruapehu from other studies, and of the MGO-CO graph compared with geochemistry of PDCs from Cowlin's study. However, due to the overall similar ranges in geochemistry between all the formations that form Ruapehu, it is difficult to assign PDCs to specific formations based solely on the geochemistry. Instead of assigning a PDC to a single formation, we identified all of the formations that they are geochemically similar to. For this, we used both Pardo's results, who studied the tephra deposits, and Conway, who studied the lava flows that comprise Ruapehu. We then used the relative stratigraphy to further confine the approximate ages of the PDCs. All of the deposits were found under or above lava flows or other volcanic deposits that have been mapped and dated, so we were able to constrain the timing further. This image shows the approximate age ranges of PDCs deposits using geochemical data and relative stratigraphy. Solid bars are the relative stratigraphy, and hashed bars are the age ranges of the geochemically correlated formations. PDCs have occurred throughout the eruptive history of Ruapehu. The greater amount of PDCs in the last 15,000 years is likely to be due to poor preservation of PDCs prior to this time, due to the extensive glaciation that has occurred at Ruapehu. In this study, we investigated the PDC occurrence at Mt Ruapehu. While previous studies have mentioned PDC deposits, or in the case of Cowlin, described in detail PDC deposits at a single location on Ruapehu, this study identified 12 PDCs from all around the volcano. When combined with Cowlin's PDCs and the known 1945 PDC, this is a total of 23 PDCs at Mt Ruapehu. However, there are likely to be more PDCs that have been missed during these studies or have been eroded away or buried. The apparent abundance of PDCs after 15,000 years is likely to be due to poor preservation of PDCs prior to this time, during the glacial maximums. Overall, this study highlights the need for more comprehensive studies to be done on PDC occurrence at Mt Ruapehu, especially due to the risks that PDCs pose to people nearby and the popularity of Ruapehu as a tourist destination.